What's up, comic book community? Joe here with another episode of 360 Comics. Today we're going to take on a very hot topic, a very highly contested word in the comic book community, and that is speculation. We're going to look at speculation and see whether it is good or it is bad, and spoiler alert, it can be both. So stay tuned for more. We've got two giveaways in the works right now. First of all, for the month of February, this book right here, Avengers Forever #9, Origin Story of Kang. We're giving that away on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, like this video, and leave a comment down below. That gets you one entry, and you can check out our other videos from the month of February, like them, and leave comments on them for additional entries. Then head on over to Instagram, because we're giving away this book right here for our 9,000 follower giveaway. So if you don't follow yet, make sure you do, and look out for the post later this week about how to enter to win, and good luck. Before we get into this video, it's important for me to say that nothing that I say today should be considered financial advice by any means. This is just me talking about my thoughts on comic book speculation. And anytime you're, purchasing things with your money, whether it be for your collection or for an investment or speculation, do your own research and come to your own conclusion. Don't do it because myself or anyone else online says to do it or says it's good or bad or whatever. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about speculation. Basically the textbook dictionary definition is coming to a conclusion without firm evidence. And usually when we hear it, it's spoken about alongside investing, and it essentially is making an investment without it being a very likely investment to profit on. It is a speculative investment is considered more risky. And yeah, you usually kind of hear them actually separated. You'll hear, an investment, which is more a tried and true thing. Think about buying an Amazing Fantasy 15, a book that will probably continue to climb over time because of the popularity of that character, versus a speculation, which there have been a lot of in the last couple years. We've definitely seen some books shoot up in value and also come back down. Some came back down, but not nearly as low as they once were, and they're still, solid, valuable books. And other ones have shot up and plummeted down to even lower than they really were in the first place. Let's talk about the bad type of speculation. If there's a book that everyone is talking about and everyone is buying, and you're seeing, someone's mom bought 10 copies of this book, whether it's a book that's been out, a back issue that's been out for a while, or something right off the shelf, it's probably not a good idea to get. Think about the 1990s. Everyone was buying Image #1s, and not even just #1s, but multiple copies of every Image book that was coming out in the early 90s because it was the new hot thing, and people thought that they were going to take their Wildcats #1 and their Youngblood #1, and those someday were going to be these holy grail comic books. Well, guess what? You can find VF copies in dollar bins all day, and even near mint copies are only a few bucks for those books. And Spawn #1 is the one that's held the most value, and that is only because of the sheer popularity of that character and Todd McFarlane, the creator himself. If that was not a Todd McFarlane book, or if Spawn was not nearly as popular as it was, that book would be right down there with the rest of them. So, be careful. Everyone in the 90s was going out and buying, multiple copies of those books. Same with Death of Superman. And that's why those books aren't worth as much, because there were not only a ton of them printed and purchased, but they all were kept in really nice condition. It wasn't like in the 1960s and 50s and prior to that and everything, where kids were sticking comic books in their back pocket, riding around on their bikes with them, and then getting home and, sitting up in the treehouse eating peanut butter and jelly, getting jelly on the pages and stuff. People were taking care of comics by the 1990s, which is why those speculation buys, those investments, if you will, did not pay off in 99.9 out of 100 cases. But yeah, same thing with books from the last couple years. If it's a book that everyone's talking about, and comic stores are sold out of it and stuff like that, it's probably a hot book at that time, but will it cool down? And the answer is probably. We've seen prices spike up on a ton of things, and in almost every case, they've come down at least a little bit. In a lot of cases, they've come down from by a significant amount, 50% and even more from their peak height. Now, let's talk about the top 10 list that you see online, whether it's on a YouTube channel or a comic book website. These things report the news. They report what is already being sold. And if they're already being sold in these high quantities and for high prices, it's probably too late for you to go out there and get in on the spec on this. Don't have FOMO. That is an important word, and you've probably heard it a ton. Don't have FOMO. Don't have fear of missing out and think that you need to get this book, because very, very likely you'll be able to get that book in the near future for less money. Now, that being said, if a book is on the hot list and it's selling for $40 and you find one in a dollar bin, of course, then it's a great buy to get. You can't go wrong with that. Even if you don't sell the book and you just keep it for yourself and it comes down in price, okay, you spent $1 on it, which is kind of leading me into what I want to talk about with good types of speculation. I talked about the bad ones, buying books on the hot list at, what their retail value is at that point, fair market value, buying things that everyone is buying and everyone's going to have tons of copies of, or at least one copy of. That is not the good thing. Not the good spec. That is not a good way to make financial moves in this hobby. And honestly, it can get you stuck in a rut there, and you might be really kind of turned off to the hobby because of losing out on value or just having a bunch of books that you can't get rid of. And that's another thing. Make sure you don't overbuy. If you are speculating on a book, make sure you buy an amount of them, if you buy multiple copies, that you can get rid of in a short period of time, should you A, need the money, or B, the spec pops and there's some value to that book now. You don't want to get stuck with 20 copies if you can only sell off 1 or 2 of them, because it's not worth it at that point. You've spent too much money on the rest of them, and if you can only sell a couple, if you're an eBay seller or you sell on Instagram or whatnot or something, you have a way out. You have a way to provide that book to someone else and move it along. But if that is something you don't normally do, you got to be careful with your speculation, because even myself, and I sell pretty regularly, I've got stuck holding the bag on books that I bought too many copies of. That being said, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to the positive side of speculation, because I truly believe there is healthy speculation that can be done. Healthy speculation is low buy-in. Okay, there's 3 P's that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the 3 P's of healthy speculation. And this is just something I made up. This is not, set in stone rules or anything like that, but P number 1 is the price. What price are you buying this book at? Are you getting it from a dollar bin? If so, that's probably a pretty good price for a spec book. Are you buying it for, cover price? Okay, that might be okay. A couple bucks, $3 to $5 for, cover prices of various books that are coming out nowadays. That's a decent amount. If you're buying a spec book for fair market value high, that's probably not a good speculation option there. So price, that's the first thing. Number 2, the second P, is potential. Does this book have potential in some way? Is there something that could happen that could bring the value of this book up? And a lot of that nowadays has to do with the movies and television show appearances. And I don't want you to think that it's only first appearances, because other books definitely have some value as far as speculation that aren't necessarily first appearances, but are keys for other reasons. So that probability, not probability, potential, we're going to come back to that. We're going to move on to the third one right now, which is probability. What is the probability of all the planets aligning and that speculation coming to fruition, essentially? What's the probability of that character showing up or that event occurring in television or movies or whatever it may be, and also the value of that book then going up? And I want to use an example talking about all three Ps with a book that recently popped, and a book that I had speculated on. And in fact, I had a video just a couple months ago telling all of you, hey, I think this is a cool spec book. Don't go out and buy it just because I'm saying so, but hey, think about this. And a couple people that I know went out and got this book, and they're probably pretty happy right now because it multiplied many, many times. This book is Avengers Annual number 21. This is the first use of the name Victor Timely by Kang the Conqueror. He utilizes that name as I think kind of like a businessman or something like that. This is during the Citizen Kang annual crossover. So Victor Timely is the name utilized, and recently, due to things going on in the MCU, that book has popped up significantly. This book, let's start with the first P, price. I was buying for a dollar over and over again. I grabbed these at $1 bins all day when I found them. And then the second one, potential. Yes, potential. Kang the Conqueror is coming. We already knew that. But he also had the potential to utilize this name in the MCU, which, we'll see going forward what's going on with that. And the third thing is probability. Now, probability is usually going to be rather low on the spec side. Everyone thinks, I don't know a single person who is against the idea that Silver Surfer is going to show up in the MCU at some point. I think that is blatantly obvious. That is a extremely high, if not 100%, 99.9% probability that character will show up in a movie, television show, probably multiple projects at some point. But is it probable that a lesser-known character, or in this case, will a character utilize a code name or a secret identity as he did in the comic books? It's a lower probability, but it still does exist. And when you have a low buy-in and a decent potential, as we saw in this case, but a low probability, that can be okay. You're really only stuck with a $1 book if all goes wrong. So I think that first P, price, is going to be the most important one, at least in my opinion. Not putting a lot of money into these speculations, these things that might not come to fruition, probably won't come to fruition. Another book that I've spoken about recently, and this is like way down the line. This would not happen anytime in the next 5 years. Who knows how long the MCU is going to last, but this is something that does have some potential, and that is, I honestly forget the issue right now, Fantastic Four number 200 and something, 273, I want to say. It's the issue where She-Hulk joins the Fantastic Four. This book can be found pretty much for $5 or less all the time. You really won't see it for any more than that, and that's only really high grade. You can find it in dollar bins. I found it in dollar bins plenty of times before. But we're definitely getting the Fantastic Four. We know that. There's a movie scheduled. We just got She-Hulk in the last year into the MCU. Is there a chance? Is there a potential for her to join the Fantastic Four at some point? Sure. Why not? I see no reason why that couldn't happen. In the comics, it was after the Battle World events of Secret Wars. Well, we're getting a Secret Wars in the movie. That could certainly happen, after that. That being said, is it likely that that's going to happen? No, I certainly think it's well under 50% that she's going to join the Fantastic Four in the MCU. But is it possible? Absolutely. So, that's kind of my thought on it. Buying the new books off the rack and stuff like that for cover price, some of those are going to be hits and misses. 99% of characters that get introduced fizzle off into nothing, and their first appearance is not worthless, but a $1 to $5 book. Every once in a while, characters come along. Think of the last 20 years: Miles Morales, Laura Kinney, Spider-Gwen. Those are the big three. There's a handful of other ones, but those are certainly the big three. But for every one of those characters, there's 10, 20, 50, 100 characters that were introduced that their first appearance is in dollar bins all over the world. So definitely something you want to think about. Use your mind, use your brain. Think about what could be coming in the MCU and also the DCEU. I know I use Marvel ideas here because I am more of a Marvel guy. I'm more knowledgeable about Marvel, but there's a lot of potential going forward in DC as well, given that things seem to be moving and also moving in the right direction with them. But, once again, I just want to reiterate, nothing I say is financial advice. Please make your own decisions. If you have any questions for me about this, if you want to drop me a line, you're more than welcome to message me on Instagram, or I will be on Comic Book Canon as a co-host from here out on out. I have officially joined that show, which is really, really awesome. They asked me to be a part of it. Originally, I've been on the show as a guest, and I've also subbed in a couple times, but now I'm going to be on that show, and I'm going to be doing a segment called Ask Joe. So you get to ask me any questions about the hobby, whether it be about collecting or my personal opinions or buying, selling, investing, searching for collections, hunting, whatever it may be. Feel free to message Comic Book Canon on Instagram and send them those questions, and I will answer those questions live on the show, which is being moved back to Sundays. So if you're not subscribed to Comic Book Canon on YouTube, be a cool time to do it now, as I'm going to be on every week from here on out, and that will be Sunday evenings. Hope you enjoyed this video. It was a little bit different, just kind of me rambling here, giving my thoughts. I just bought a 40 long box collection yesterday, so I didn't have much prepared because I spent so much time going through those books, and I'm going to continue doing that after this. But hope you learned something. Hopefully I gave you something to think about so that you can kind of utilize these tools in making your own decisions about buying, selling, whatever it may be. This hobby should be fun first and foremost. We should enjoy it. Obviously buy what you like is always something that people say, but at the same time, a lot of people are drawn to it by the aspect of investing and speculating and the value of these books, and that is okay. It's okay to do these things too, in addition to reading and collecting and all that stuff. So thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Like this video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about speculation. Let me know what you think about this style of video. And until next time, turn the page, wash your hands.